Welcome back to another episode. It's a long-awaited episode. The man finally decided to hop off his high pedestal and join me on a special episode of Out of the Blanket in almost 600 episodes. When was your first appearance on? Like 260 something?
I don't know. I don't keep track of that.
And then from that time, we have not done another podcast, but we've hung out in person. We've chatted about the corporate elites in person. We've eaten crabs over the corporate elites in person. Literally picking through the shells of crabs is like the corporate elites picking through our souls and our wallets.
And our wallets, yeah. Mostly the wallet.
How's it been, man? Look, I just checked out your videos recently because I've been seeing you've been posting them, I guess, more frequently now. You took a little bit of a hiatus. But
Yeah.
you're a big name chili head now.
I don't think so, but all right. I'll take that as a compliment.
You're popular to me. You're like a Gene Simmons. I'd rather have you on my show than Gene Simmons.
I don't know. I think if you had Gene Simmons on your show would blow up.
I sure would, just to watch him abuse the shit out of me. He's not a very nice guy.
No, I've heard he's not. But he's got that good long tongue though.
Is that your vibration on your phone?
It's my Ring doorbell.
He sounded like a drug dealer for like, why do you wait? Hold on. You have a Ring doorbell on your phone?
When someone goes by the house, it pops up saying there's motion at the door.
What do you?
I can't put it on airplane mode because it won't let us do the video. So my wife will probably call at some point. The kids will probably be knocking at the door. The dog's gonna be going nuts.
What do you got? YouTube money? You just spending YouTube money on getting all these devices to be able to sync up to your phone?
We haven't cashed in any YouTube money yet. We got a little bit, but it ain't much. But you got remember, I got split it two ways, me and Dan 50-50. So you don't get much, especially when you split it in half. You know what I mean?
Well, I see what I've been trying to do is I've been trying to actually reduce the amount of time I'm on social media compared to the amount of time people get sucked up into it. And I've heard a lot of people like, and that's a crappy thing is when you're content creating or you're doing anything, you kind of have to be reliant on the social media aspect. And I just got lucky that when my Instagram and my Facebook went down, like everybody's did, that everyone knew I was still going to post an episode. There'd still be that. They didn't have to look for a post that there was a targeted thing for the episode. I was like, I'd rather do that. Like I was watching a lot of Jim Carrey interviews, and I didn't know Jim Carrey was like crazy woke. Not like woke in like the sense of like everything is a scam or a lie. More like this shit. Like he went to the People's Grammys thing. It was a video from like 4 years ago. And the woman's like, "Are you excited to be here at the Grammys?" He goes, "Why? None of this fucking matters. This is all what is this? We're just particles fucking sitting in this ethereal space." And I'm like, man, like that's a really like how much you like David Goggins is like how much I'm appreciating Jim Carrey for just not really caring and just doing what he knows is like just being a person, a human being on a giant floating rock in space.
Yeah, they looked at him like a nut when he first started coming out with this stuff and started speaking outside the box as far as Hollywood people are concerned. And he started talking what we would consider crazy at the time, and I was like, man, that's a shame. Jim Carrey done lost his mind. Come to find out, no, he's on a different level apparently. I mean, is he a little crazy? I'm sure we all are. It's Jim Carrey. I'm sure he's a little kooky, but at the same time, when you go back and watch it now, you understand what really was going on. He was separating himself from all the BS corporate stuff. I mean, good for him. He got his money and he got out alive. But you speak against Hollywood, you speak against all that stuff, and all of a sudden you got a target on your back,
Yeah.
But good for him for stepping up and doing it.
Well, imagine if Charlie Sheen would have had his little incident now rather than 5 years ago or however long ago he had his little incident where he talks about tiger blood. Like, I bet you he would still be a person that would be like getting a lot of attention today. He wouldn't just be like, if you see videos of him now, he just looks like a homeless person. He lives at his parents' house. I mean, it's still Charlie Sheen, but he's reduced to cameo videos. And you start looking at it like the times have changed so quickly from the age of 2.5 Men. But like, if he would have did that now, I think people would have had more. He probably would have got more traction on him. I mean, yeah, he said some crazy shit to the director of it, but it was that aspect of like "fuck you Hollywood" is how they could spin it now. Like that idea of "fuck you Hollywood" has been the giant push for everything going on now.
Yeah. Like I said, it's hard to go against Hollywood. It's like me going against the bosses at my work. Like all of a sudden, you're gonna be you got a target on your back. They want to take away your livelihood. They want to take away your means to support your family, all that kind of stuff. It's tough. Like you want to stand up, you want to say something, but at the same time, do you really want to lose everything? But it's a little different when you've stacked up a couple $1 million in the bank and you can do that. But when you're on a regular middle class level, it's hard to stand out. It's hard to say anything on social media that you feel is that people are doing wrong or anything. And I don't do any of that. But you read stuff, you see stuff, and you're like, man, this is crazy. But you can't say nothing because if you do, you'll just get attacked. And you're like, it's hard because I try to stay neutral because I see all the different sides, and I'm not one side or the other. I'm in the middle on a lot of stuff. Not everything, but on a lot of stuff. So it's hard to step out and stand up and get away from and speak your mind. It's hard to do because you either get followed by a bunch of crazies on both sides, or one side or the other, or you get bashed by everyone. So I'm getting tired of social media for the most part myself.
What are you willing to sacrifice to become the main trending thing? Like, it's very respectable to me when I see people like Jim Carrey who don't really use their social media or any types of things, but still are able to do the craft that they love. I think it's a weird investment. Like, you hear a lot of times about people that go, "Well, I needed a job. I was forced to do these things. I had no other option." It was like, well, you shouldn't be in a world where there's an option of you have to live in Amazon conditions. I'm not mad at Bezos. I'm not rationalizing what he did, but from a
No.
business aspect, he just didn't give a fuck about your feelings and how shitty of a workday you had. But you did a job, he did pay you. So you start looking at a concept of, I just don't want people forced in a position where they feel like they have to act a certain way. You hear horrible stories of actors in Hollywood or just people throughout society that are put in a position that they didn't want to do, but they were like, well, that was just the times. And it was like, I don't know. We're only classifying the times, and the times seem to be changing around us, but not in some serious structural issues. It's because who's really acting on changing the times? Like, I'm not trying to get deep on your episode, but I'm looking at it like,
No, get deep, get deep.
what when this idea of like trending or this idea of becoming popular, our role models now are influencers, not people that used to be Superman back in the day. Our parents used to be role models in some aspects in
Right.
some people's lives. I mean, I think our basis of it's the same shit, just a different time. Our environment has changed, but there's no difference between now and the 1970s. There's no difference between the 1950s. Business is still running the exact same. And it's weird because I feel like in many positions in your life, and this just happened to me recently, I won a court case, but the whole court thing, it's set up for you. I beat John Hopkins in the state of Maryland. That's a fucking 2-0 record that I like to brag about.
People might not know about Johns Hopkins because it may not be from the area or whatever. I think most people at some point have heard of it throughout the country. That's a massive establishment. And if you can beat them in anything, bravo, hats off to you.
But it's like
I'm glad.
as soon as you walk in the doors, though, it's an admission of guilt, even if you're a defendant. Just the way that it's set up with the questioning, and I get it's
Yeah.
trying to find a critical answer, but everything in the world is kind of set up to give the power to the business rather than looking at the minority person that might be affected by this. And in some cases, we see that on social media of someone winning a court case, but you see that because out of most of the times it happens, it's a rare fucking possibility. That's why it's trending on news when these types of situations happen. But
Right.
everything is, even if you're in the right, everything is meant to shift the power out of your hands and put more into their hands, much like a toddler with a crayon drawing on the walls. You're the parent that takes the crayon away. It's like that's how the world's kind of set up to make you feel like you don't really have a lot of power, in my
Yeah.
perspective of
Well,
things.
you don't have much power. To quote one of your past guests that have been on a couple times, Robbie, you go on and you leave a lot to unpack. you go, who's the French woman?
Oh, Dr. Serene Emmy.
She's awesome. I love her episode. She's great. She goes on and I'm sorry, you go on and she goes, all right, hold on, Robbie. I love her accent too. She's like, you give me so much, there's so much to unpack here, and you just did it again. And I've been waiting to tell you that. Like, I love listening, but I love when you go on a rant because I want to answer every question, but I feel like there's not enough time in a day to answer all the questions and all the things you put out there.
Is it better to be too little curious or too much?
I think, in some sense, uh, I believe the more you know, the more burden you have, the more what's the old saying? I'm nervous. I'm always nervous when I come on and do any live thing. So my mind sort of draws a little
Well,
blank.
this
But
isn't live, it's just you and me. So hopefully that'll
well, you
ease
know
the
what I mean.
tension.
Anytime I'm doing stuff, I get a little nervous. Even when we make videos, and it's like I still get nervous. But I kind of draw a blank sometimes. But out of the blank, there you go.
It's a good show.
But what's the old saying? Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
And it truly is, because once you start to dive deep into stuff and you really start to see different facts from different sides and different stuff and start to learn more. And I'm almost 40 years old now, and I've come a long way as far as like what I've learned. And I'm not saying I'm very smart or any of that, but smarter than I was when I was 18 years old. So the problem is, the more you learn, the more you see the world, the more you get it, the more heartbreaking it is, the more stressful it is, because you see the wrong, you see the lies, the deception, the stuff, and the good too. You also see good too, but at the same time, it's like the more you know, the I feel like the more stressful, the worse off you are in a sense, because there's nothing you can do about it in the system today. Hey guys, can you calm down a little bit? I told the kids they can come in the room as long as they would just try to keep it down. But
You're a good dad. I got you. But
I got two kids and a dog here, so
I think the idea that ignorance is bliss, I mean, it's not wrong. I just think that there's so like the biggest fear for me right now is the fact that like, and I'm gonna ask you what your biggest fear is, just so I don't feel like I'm the only person with my armor down here. But I think recently I've been understanding that there's so much information out there that you're never going to consume it all. Like, even though I might know a lot about a certain few topics, there are some basic things like just making gelatin the other day. I have more respect for, I know it's a machine now, but I have more respect for the aspect of making gelatin. It's not fucking easy when you have to do certain measuring pours, and I'm not good with measurements. I'm not good with math, but I'm like, damn it, I could tell you all about the fucking CCP government, but I could never tell you about how to do this properly. I feel like a child in some aspects. And I think that's why, I'm that type of person that never wants to feel like a child in anything. I want to try my best to upgrade that perspective or try and enhance myself to be better at that situation. But there are certain scenarios in life where I feel like, even though it's like being in a doctor's office, when you sit on the doctor's little chair, when he tells you to sit down, your feet never touch the fucking floor. So you're a child in a way. There's that feeling that in all aspects of life, in all aspects of business, in all aspects of anything with the government, that you get placed in, that necessarily you shouldn't ever feel like you're placed in those situations where you're uncomfortable.
right. Well, I think going back to like what I was saying a little bit ago, and it's sort of a little different, but there is a big system in play and a big machine, and unfortunately, we're all part of it. And the only way, I think, it's sad but true. I think the only way that these systems work is you have to have. Hey guys, keep it down a little bit. I think you have to have
Just kick them
a
out of the door.
giant What's
Kick them
that?
out. Kick them out. Just kick them.
I know. Hey
Push them
guys,
with a
I'm
giant
going
stick.
out of the room. You heard Mr. Robbie. Keep it down or get out the room.
I'm kidding. Don't yell at them like that.
I'm gonna hit him with something.
Just take a bat. It's okay.
Yeah.
If
But
they're
I was
yours,
saying,
it's okay.
the more you learn and you see how the system it truly is, and you learn enough stuff about it, there has to be a giant population of people that are on the bottom, because those are the grunts. And the only way that any system works, wrong or right, is there's a giant population of people that go out and bust their hump every day and go to work for a decent pay, but not a big pay, because the companies can't grow and be huge and keep the government afloat and all this other stuff. You need a big population of people at the bottom, and it's sad, because I spent most of my life at the bottom too, and I'm still a lower middle class person. But if everyone was able to wake up in the morning and just get on their computer and do a couple hours of work on their computer from home and relax on the big comfy couch and make $50 an hour. What do you think is going to happen if no one goes out and is the grunt who's digging trenches and building bridges and doing and shoveling the shit? Who's going to do it? You have to
Technology.
have people. Yeah, technology.
That's coming, dude. That's don't even joke about that. That's coming.
No, but the thing is, technology by itself can't go out and level acres of land and dig at this moment in time. Can't dig foundations and pour concrete and do all this stuff the way it needs to be done. You need humans. You need people, and unfortunately, it's got to be a lot of people who make a basic living in order for the system as a whole to work. And it's sad, because it'll never be fair. There will never be people that don't starve to death at the end of the day. There will never be people that aren't homeless, and there will never be that stuff because that no matter what, it's sad, but it's gonna happen. You know, it's gonna happen. There's gonna be people that are struggling.
What do you think the realistic? Is she doing a handstand on the wall behind you?
Oh my God. Hey guys. Yeah, I don't
That
know.
was impressive as hell.
I'm
Good
trying to
on
ignore
her.
them, Rob. I'm here in the Lions Den. I'm in the master suite of the house. I tried to get away from them, but I can't. That's why it's so hard for me and you. People don't know why I haven't been back on. You go to bed early, you get up early. I go to bed late, I get up early. But I also have 3 kids, a wife, a dog, crazy schedule. I don't really, we never match up. Even though we're like an hour and a half away from each other, we're on different time zones, you know?
Yeah, well, different time schedules. But do you
Not
really
all time zones, you know what I mean? We're complete opposite.
do you really think that technology is not at the point? Because I start to look at like the government's been known to have technology that's at least 30 years or 40 years advanced in front of us. And that's kind of like recently,
Yeah, but
recently China had that hypersonic missile that was tested, and then they just announced it. I was like, I've talked to plenty of people, especially the guy from Skinwalker Ranch, who said, "Do you think that they were just now creating that technology? They've had this for a very long time. It's just now it's a push for funding of, hey, they have this, we need to be above them, give us more money. We have technology where I heard from Mike Baker, an ex-CIA guy, where he could tap his watch and a million of these small little robots that come out the size of like little flies come out and fly up in a swarm. He goes, this is what technology is going to be. He's making a show for the Sci-Fi Channel about all this technology stuff
yeah,
now.
yeah.
I think that like we are underestimating these types of things, and I think the main fear that we really need to focus on is a face on top of a gun safe. Is that a gun safe?
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is dangerous. You're gonna get me taken off YouTube. No, I'm just kidding.
There's only 2 people that know the combination that's safe, my wife and I, and that's it. So don't worry, he can't get in there if he wanted to.
He got up there quick too. I didn't even notice it.
He's a monkey. He's noisy too. I wish he would just stop talking.
Just throw an apple in another room and have him run for it.
Yeah. Oh my God. See, going back to what you're saying, like they have technology far advanced. Like the SR-71 was way back in the day. This thing was an amazing plane, and they kept it secret forever. But the problem is, they might have a supersonic jet, but they don't have a supersonic shit shoveling, robot. So who's gonna do it? You, me, regular people, because they don't want to put all that time and effort into creating a $4 billion electronic shovel that can dig a foundation. No, they're just gonna get a couple grunts to go do it. That's just the way it's got to be. You can't create a robot for every little job, every little task. Who's pushing a wheelbarrow full of stuff through a muddy landscape and falling over and doing this and that? Robots will just fall over in the mud and get stuck instantly. A human gets back up and we keep
Well,
going.
that's
You
what
know?
you see with the DARPA robot they took a picture of. They showed like a four-legged robot that was coming out. Everyone's like, this is exciting. What they didn't show you was the side photo that was also taken where they had guns on this thing as well, too. I think what they
Yeah.
choose to show the public necessarily isn't the same thing as what they actually are able or capable of doing. I think the public was shown with Facebook algorithms and all these algorithms on your devices was it was shown as one thing, and now it's necessarily being found out that it can do multiple things or other things. For instance, when I watch a Facebook video, I get down a rabbit hole where I watch a guy shoot another guy in broad daylight. It just goes from a simple video of someone singing a song, and then it goes to another video, and then 10, 15 ones later, I'm in this deep rabbit hole. I mean, recently I've been getting in on Twitter Spaces, and I really don't like to be on my social media, but I get invited to them by like people that I know that have been on the show. They're like, come to this Twitter space, hear these people out. It was a big shocker because a guy was telling me that he worked for NSA or something like that, and he started talking about all this tech. And I checked out his profile; he was verified, and he had a bunch of books written by like that talked about the Pentagon and all this type of stuff. And he was friends with the guy from Skinwalker Ranch. And I was listening to the guy talk, and he goes, there's multiple types of UFO technology. And I'm like, what are we talking about? I'm like, is this another crazy one? And he goes, there's the stuff that are from outer world, which is stuff that isn't from this earth. And they're like, how do you check if it's from this earth or not? Well, the isotopes in it are different. They use some type of mechanism or be able to device to be able to sense if there's an isotope change. Much like an astronaut goes to outer space, if you go and take their blood's going to be altered a little bit because they've been in something that human blood or earth blood has not
Yeah,
experienced yet.
yeah, yeah,
So they talk about the same thing with technology, a certain type of radiation that lingers onto it.
yeah.
And he goes, there's things that are from outer world, then there's man created ones, which is the stuff like Bob Lazar, where they talk about they have propulsion systems that they can make. The difference is trying to categorize into where it came from. And also there's future humans. And I'm like, what is he talking about now? He goes, there are people from the future that have been able to time dimensional shift and come back to the past. I'm like, this is where I don't get it. It's like, are you fucking with me? I mean, pardon
Right.
my French. I don't know if they can hear me, but I'm
Yeah.
I
Right.
I start to get to a point where I go, is this I can't laugh because if I laugh, am I insulting this person? Much like you can't really like if someone says they identify as a cat. It might sound funny, but if that person really feels that way, then you're being mean. And
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want to be
I can.
cruel to these people in the space. So like it's
Yeah.
everyone asking, like, is this real? Like, are you messing with us? Or are you being serious? And the guy's like, I'm 100% serious. All you have to do, and the guy starts talking about he's creating a machine called, I swear to you, I swear to you, I can't make this up. It's called a VAG. It's literally VAG, but it has acronyms for it all. But he goes, it's a way to change the
$4 billion badge. They created one.
well, he was talking. The guy said he man created one. It was easy or something. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I know. I don't. Hey, I'll tell you what. Give me just one
Yeah.
second.
But so, do you know what the badge thing is?
Well, I know what the badge thing is, but not the one you're
Okay,
talking.
you said a $4 million one. It made it sound like, oh my god, like there's a government one that's been known about. But this guy said he was creating one, and it's about displacing the matter or the type of your molecules. Since we're all made up of molecules, we're all these little things vibrating at a certain frequency. It's able to make a solid. But he goes, now you can displace the weight of these particles to be like nothingness, so you can actually slip through a dimension. Now, him creating a man-crafted one or whatever, I'm like, both, yeah, good fucking luck. I can't even make a chlorine bomb off YouTube anymore. But when you start looking at it, like they've talked about discovering other dimensions, they've talked about this type of stuff before. And now, if this guy who's verified, who might be crazy, I don't know, but he starts going that there's this type of future tech or this type of stuff about people coming to the past. Then I see a video about Mike Tyson, one of his games. There was a guy with an iPhone that was
Yeah,
recording
I
one of his
saw that.
fights. So
Yeah.
you start looking at it like, now, is this a possibility? I don't know. It's crazy because we've never seen anything like that before. But to say to definitively that it's not, I don't think it's aliens. I really don't think they've been here yet. I think it's government tech, but I think they're exploring into realms that maybe we got a fragment of alien stuff that hit here a long time ago. Maybe we've modified
Yeah.
that tech, or maybe we've done something else. But I think the idea of time travel, the way to be able to break through another dimension, and the fact that the government's telling you now about it, I'm like, then they've been looking into this for a very long time. And that means
Well,
that that's the scary part.
since the beginning of time, humans have been interested in otherworldly, beings and stuff. So I don't think it ever stopped. And the more money that the governments, gather up, the more they would investigate. But I think someone explained it. I don't know who it was. It was a video. It was a pretty good video. It was explaining like the timeline of history since the Big Bang until now. And our existence is like just a speck on the timeline from when humans, even before we were like Neanderthals, there was other versions of humans along the way. And our whole entire timeline, regardless, not just Homo erectus, not just whatever, but going back, our whole existence is a speck, right? So aliens, I mean, they could have came here millions of years before humans existed, and maybe their planet got destroyed by something. Maybe they left a little something behind. Maybe there is something to aliens actually being real. I have no proof, and it'd be cool if there was, but at the same time, I hope they just don't mess with us because obviously, if they can fly here from another freaking galaxy, then they're smarter than we are in many ways. I would say,
I'm more apt that I think people are fucking with us on an aspect of like
yeah,
even the new thing, Skinwalker at the Pentagon. Now, the guy who made
yeah,
the Skinwalker Ranch I had on, we were talking. He was like, "Well, it's so you're trying to look for authenticity, but also you're making a show. So you got to understand where Hollywood starts to play an effect. Like, no person is going to be like, here's Bigfoot. He's not real, and they're going to end the show after 2 episodes. They're going to string it along, much like Tiger King coming back. Like it's just
yeah,
about money. It's just about views. They're going to do whatever they possibly can to run it and keep running it and running it, and running it. That's why we have shows that go like 15 seasons, 16 seasons that keep
yeah.
on going and going because it's always about keeping the content there. They'll never give you the answer. They want you to buy the second part. It's a constantly money machine where I start looking at it like I have more respect for people that just want to give you the answer and, not take you down this long rabbit hole, knowing that it's not going to be profitable for them because we don't have a general authenticity aspect of things anymore, which makes it kind of difficult. I think that's also why I've been getting interested in dreams a lot is like hearing people's dreams and hearing that side of them. It's not really showing weakness because it's something your mind created, but it's showing something that your brain thought of when you necessarily weren't thinking about thinking, if that makes sense.
Oh my God.
I don't know what she said.
They're outside the room asking for potato chips.
It's like, go nuts.
Hey, please give me a minute. Go look for them. I'm trying not to lose my shit here.
I know. I see you. I see you.
Oh lordy, I had to swipe something away on the screen. Sorry. So yeah, dude, aliens. It's its own thing. I don't think we'll ever know the truth. The videos that came out from the Pentagon and the stuff that's going on, it's mind blowing. And is it a distraction? People are saying different. Is it? Oh, it's a distraction. Oh, or it's Give me 1 second, Robbie.
Yeah. Okay, so you're saying that you don't. Well, I think you have a good point, though. The point is, why would they feel the need to tell us? They don't tell us about a lot of shit. Why would they feel like they like this? Like I was talking to TJ about this. He goes, the push for people trying to get enough things started for them to be able to tell us things. Like, oh, the more we get more people signed up on our team in UFO Twitter or whatever, and it's not just UFO Twitter; it's in anything. They feel like the government owes them disclosure. I'm like, the government doesn't owe you jack. The government
No,
doesn't care about your feelings, much like Bezos doesn't care about your feelings.
right. Yeah, the government has to keep stuff secret too. You can't just put everything. You can't just make a big government website and say, "Here's everything we've ever learned. Here's everything we know. Here's everything we're working on. Here's our secret technology. Whatever." I get. There's got to be secrets, but it'd be nice if they came out and really said, "Hey, we don't know anything about aliens, but yeah, there was. Let's say there was a crash in Roswell. Yeah, it was a thing, and it wasn't a weather balloon." Or come out and say, I don't know. It would just be nice if you could get the truth once in a while. But even when they do tell you something's true, it's hard to believe it because they have to kind of lie about a lot of stuff. It's unfortunate. It's part of this being in the system.
So
It
before I
sucks.
get to my real question, I'm going to get you to this side question, which is going to determine my real question. I know I'm going to keep adding that. Now that you open up that door for like I say too much things, I got to add more.
Good, good.
So if psychedelics were legal, do you think the main reason why is that they want you to be doped up, or do you think that if society did have legal drugs, that everyone would just be mindless? The government would actually want that more. Because talking with people through psychedelics or people legalization of drugs, there's two sides. They don't want a doped up society. They don't want people on drugs to become inefficient, or they would want the people to be doped up so they can do all the shit that they want to do without people questioning.
Well, unfortunately, I think there's more than two sides to any story, and I think there's a million different aspects to that. Also, I think people do need a release. I think some people do need to be able to smoke some weed or to have some drinks or to do whatever psychedelics, mushrooms. When the time is right, when the situation is right, not all day long at work you're operating a machine and you're high on mushrooms, woo,
Yeah.
flying around and that's not a good idea. But there's a time and a place for things, and I think people should be able to. I don't know. I think a doped up society. I don't. I think if you legalize most things the proper way, I don't think people would probably abuse it as quite the way they do. Look at certain countries that have done it right and legalized, not legalized, but decriminalized a lot of stuff. I think for the most part they're doing pretty good. I think they're doing better than kind of what we are in a lot of ways. Like Baltimore is like I think it's been the heroin capital of the world for like 20 years now.
I
Like there's
gotta
more
we
heroin
we
in
can
Baltimore.
easily fix that. Well, we just take all the homeless people, all the drug addicts that prefer to be on the streets, and just ship them like we did to Australia, where we just put a bunch of criminals in one country. Just
Yeah,
find a state and cut that state out.
I'm sure Australia would be real happy if also we sent a shipload of them.
Because the bigger question here is do you think that if the government released UFO stuff, for the reason why they're not doing it is the fear that people can't handle it, or do you feel like it might be too much, or maybe people would just feel like I feel like because I start looking at the main fix to this would be if they just told you with honesty and they were just more honest about stuff. But people go,
Yeah.
well, people couldn't handle the honesty. And I'm like, well, the fact that it lies and gets exposed later, all you're doing is delaying the time. It's still keeping the sanity there, but now you're
Yeah.
creating trust issues.
And you're losing your credibility. And that's a shame because you want to believe in the American government, the American way. And we know there's been a lot of dark history with the American government, the US government. We know. But and it's sad, but it happened. But I think it, I think people could handle most of the alien information that they had if they put it out, because I don't think there's a whole lot of real proof. I don't think they're going to come out, even if they told the truth, and say, yeah, we're working with there is aliens, and actually we do deals with Zork and and his brother Zed,
Flip
and
flop and the floopty doos.
yeah, I don't think like the person in the White House is sitting down and having meetings with other world other universe leaders, and I don't think that's the case. But I mean, if there is much like real information about UFOs or aliens, that I don't think there's much. I think if there was a crash or a little bit, they could come out and say, "Hey, we did recover some stuff that it isn't human, but we don't know what it is. We're going to be honest. We're working on it. We don't know what it is. We do have some stuff that we can't explain, like some parts or something." I think people wouldn't lose their shit and burn the whole world to the ground if they said, hey, we do have some stuff, but we don't know much about it, to be honest with you. We don't know personally any aliens, but we have seen some shit that there's been some aliens, but we don't know what's going on. I don't think it would be the end of the world.
If you could pick one thing to figure out, like one secret that's been on your mind that you wish you could have the answer to, what would it be? Can't say JFK.
Well, I know that's a good one. Well, the alien thing's big because it would be fun to know. Do they really, or do we know if they exist? But if I'm not going to say aliens either, maybe
Time
some
travel?
kind of time travel, like you brought up earlier. Has there ever been any machine that had any success at all in like the accelerator? What's that? It's CERN, the proton something accelerator. You know what I'm talking about?
The one that's like 2.5 miles long.
Yeah, it's underground in like Sweden or something like that. Like
They were
they
built.
speed up particles to. Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you. They speed up particles almost the speed of light, and they noticed that by watching it and everything, that it actually does something weird with time. Like it's like a split second ahead of when it should be or behind when it should be. I forget the details because I don't really remember it all. But so there could be something to like Einstein's theory about traveling at the speed of light, where if you traveled at the speed of light in a train around the Earth for like a month, you would get off of that train, but only like 2 weeks would go by for everybody else or something, or it's the opposite. It would either way, but like there's a theory that that if you travel fast enough, that time is actually warped. That may be the only possible way to travel through time is actually with speed, but
Well,
that's
deep
unheard of.
deeper you go down in the ocean, time is distorted and different down there. That's why they were able to find that 600 million year old fish, and also recently why they just found that long extinct, what they thought was extinct scorpion. A scorpion that's literally the size of like a car seat, I think. It's a huge scorpion, but it was found deep underwater because without sunlight, you don't have any perspective of what time is. Besides, they don't have watches down there, but the sunlight is how we depict time. So without sunlight, you technically age differently. And they think things deep down in the ocean, there's probably thousands of secrets down there that we don't understand or we're not going to be able to understand. I mean, you would think that instead of trying to conquer space travel, which makes you kind of lead into the theory of like, if you're so obsessed with space, what does that mean? That you have a fear that this planet is going to be no longer one day, so human civilization could survive on another one just in case this one got wiped out? Because then why wouldn't you explore our oceans? Why wouldn't you try and make underwater domes?
Yeah, I don't think we're ready to travel to another alien planet. Let's say we were given a machine
They're
tomorrow, or they
making
built a
hotels on
machine.
Mars.
Well, what I mean is like an alien world, not even in our solar system. Like let's say we were given a machine tomorrow, and this machine was built, and it could travel to another galaxy where there actually is aliens, and we went there. I think we're going to screw ourselves up because we're not ready for that. We're not ready for to handle an advanced species of something. But the thing is, I personally believe that yes, there is life somewhere else in the galaxy,
Yeah.
but I don't really think that you're gonna find like these high tech, like Independence Day type aliens. I think you might find some weird little animals, some weird living little, jelly type stuff floating in some kind of acidic lake on some planet somewhere. You might find some stuff. You might find life, but I don't really think you're gonna find anything further advanced than what we have right now. I mean, I could be completely wrong. It's just a guess, but that's what I always felt like. There's probably life, but it's probably really small organisms, really little animals, or even big animals, but nothing quite as advanced as what we are.
I think depending on what galaxy you probably look at, because there's like an infinite possibility of galaxies. I think there's probably one out there, or probably a bunch out there that we don't know of, that are just evolved in certain aspects where they have no need to want to go communicate with us. Because I think one thing we do need to evolve out as a society is the fact that if we do go to another planet, there is that intent of wanting to find a way to overcome this certain creature or whatever, even if it's their planet. There's going to be a one away. It's like, okay, we're going to learn from you, but then also we need to be a step ahead of you in case this ever goes sideways. There's just those trust issues that even our government has.
Yeah, I think personally, I think it's in our best interest to leave them alone. If even if you found out there was something out there, I think we're better off leaving them alone, because even if you visit them, if there was a planet where we found animals and you could get there and our ship landed, even if a human isn't on it, we're going to wind up exposing them to something and killing them all because of our bacteria and viruses, or the other possibility, bringing home. You've seen movies where they walk on Mars, and then they're on their way home in the ship, and some kind of bacteria starts growing in them, and they're going crazy and they're killing each other. I mean, those are movies, but I feel
Prometheus.
like you should. I feel like you should just leave them alone. I don't think we need to mess with them. When the time is right, if we're still around in a couple thousand years and we're advanced enough, then okay. But I don't think we should mess with anything.
Well, we
Let's worry about our Earth. Worry about destroying the oceans like we're doing, and then polluting everything like we're doing, and the kind of big corrupt system that is happening. Did you see the report the other day? I watched a lot of Russell Brand on YouTube. Have you
It's
been watching
crazy
him?
how he's become such a good politician now. You're like, oh my God, you went completely left to like exposing the fucking Russia gate.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's quite the reporter, and yeah, or journalist, or whatever you want to call him. I don't know, but he was explaining that now, that the 1%, the top 1% in the U.S. has more money than the whole entire middle class of the U.S. The 1% has more than the whole entire middle class, which makes up like 60% of the country. That might be an issue. That might be a problem, because now these guys can bend the laws, the rules, the stuff to work in their favor. They can buy politicians, they can buy people, they can do whatever they want. And I think back in the day, a lot of middle class people were also the business owners. Like, people owned small mom and pop shops, but that didn't get them rich. What it did was it gave them a good living. They were still middle class even though they owned a business. Now you either work for a business and you're lower middle class, or you own a business which is a big business, and you're wealthy. I mean, there's still some, but they're seems like they're disappearing quicker and quicker. All the small stuff, all the little businesses.
I think, yeah, I think during the pandemic we saw that with corporations that really weren't. I mean, what was it? Disneyland was losing over. I think I read this on my another podcast. I don't remember the exact number, but they were losing close to like 500, or was it $5 billion a week or something like that? They were losing a shit ton of money for being closed for so long, and that was just one of the Disney worlds. Like all the Disney worlds all over, not even including the 77,000 employees that worked at that Disneyland, but they were losing a shit ton of money a week. Not 5.3 billion, I think it was 5.3 million a week, but they were losing a large amount of money that I think total during the 3 months that they were closed or something like that, through all their Disney worlds, they lost like 50 something billion or something like that. And you start looking at it like the corporations that are surviving, the corporations that are dominating the market, there used to be an objective aspect for being an entrepreneur. Then everybody started doing it. I mean, the conspiracy idea that you're only going to get meat on your birthday if you're an elite, or you're going to be able to get like meat's only going to be for exclusive high wealth class people. it's not out of the realm of possibility because they basically dominated the market when it comes to just aspects of trying to survive. I mean, even middle class is now kind of technically poor. High end classes are the ones that don't really have to worry. But then we look at what's higher up than the high wealth class people. We have people that we see objectively richest people in the world, which is Bezos or people of these sorts. But what about the Saudi family, like me and you talked about? There's wealthy,
Yeah,
and then there's fucking being rich. Wealthy means your kids are never going to have to struggle, and your kids' kids are never going to have to struggle.
yeah,
But rich just means that maybe you and your kids never have to struggle. I
right,
mean,
yeah, yeah,
the objective idea that, we talk about non-fungible tokens buying moments. I heard paintings, for instance. Paintings, $400 million painting. I'm just going to use my painting as currency. Even though you don't have $400 million in the bank or $400 million in cash, you have a painting that is now a form of currency to be able to be traded to be get whatever. Hey, I got this $400 million painting. How much are you? Just trade me that. It's $400 million, right? Okay, that's 400 million. I got the cash now. Now you got my painting. It's a way to slip through by, taking $400 million in an airplane or something like that. Instead, you just got a $400 million painting. It's easier through baggage claim. You start looking at different aspects of now what are we going to redeem in money as in value. I think in the next 5 years or so, we're probably going to see money shift from just it went from cash to numbers in a bank account. I
right.
guarantee anybody out there right now, me, you, every single person in the world just goes to their bank and wants to get everything out of their account. I bet you're going to get a fucking funky response.
Well, the same thing happened in the 30s. That's exactly what it is because the numbers are there saying the bank has the money, but you know how much money my local bank, let's say, has all their customers, how much in their accounts if you added them all up versus how much cash they actually have in their vault. It doesn't add up. It doesn't line up. So yeah, if we all went to the bank and we all took our money out, only the first, quarter of the people that have their money in there would be able to actually take it out. Everyone else is screwed. So,
So
and
me and
actually,
you
one
can
of the,
say we have $10 billion, even though if we go to a store to go purchase anything, we can't. So is the rich people the ones that have $10 billion in their bank? Is that just because they've been able to smooth the system over to where they have $10 billion because they're that connected to have the $10 billion?
yeah, I learned something from a guy's house I worked on years ago. He's like some kind of financial professor. I forget where, but he explained that they passed some kind of law. I forget the name of it or whatever, but a long time ago, you used to have to back the amount of cash that we had in circulation with an exact amount of like gold and other currency, other stuff, whatever. Well, they passed a law that said we can sort of print what we own because there's there's value in stuff like ideas and computer stuff and other stuff that you can't actually put a it doesn't sort of equal out, like it's not worth its weight in gold in a sense, like virtually it is, but in a sense it isn't. So what the banks do, they used to have to actually back exactly what they had. If you had $4 trillion worth of gold at Fort Knox, you could only print $4 trillion worth of cash in circulation at a time or whatever. Now I'm forgetting some of the details here, but basically what they did, they made it so the banks could, or the federal government could print more money than what they actually have. So what they do is when you go to the bank now and you give them your money, you deposit $100,000, and they put that money in the system saying, you deposited $100,000. You know what they do with your money? They take it and they invest it in stocks and realty and other stuff. Your money's actually spent. So your money's actually been spent, but at the same time, in a little computer system, it shows that you still have $100,000, that it's still there.
Yeah.
It's not there. It's actually gone.
What are you
It's
quoting Squid?
actually,
You quoting Squid Games on me? It's what
I
it's
don't
what
know. Is that
it's
how
what
they
the
do it in Squid?
it's what the guy fucking went to join the games that he was in debt because he had a bunch of money that he already spent, future investments that he already spent, like things that he promised that he lost it all. And now he was all this billions of dollars in debt. That's a weird thing because I go to that other country, I would be fucked. Their money currency is like, here's $1 million, and they hand it to you like a dollar bill. It's like, what the fuck does that? It's like playing
Yeah.
Monopoly, but with
You get
credit
like
cards. You
you get like
transaction
a
in
cheeseburger.
billions rather than fucking ones and tens.
Yeah, I, don't, I get confused with that too. Like you watch certain movies and you, like I said, you get a cheeseburger and they're like, oh, that'll be 75,000 whatever, and you're like, 75,000 of anything? That's just too much. Like,
Yeah.
come on, let's simplify this. Let's make it a dollar burger here. It's McDonald's. Keep it simple.
Well, it's very weird because I think we're I called that the housing market was going to crash. And now you're seeing that the housing market's so hard to get a fucking home now. And it's like, yeah, I also called the fact that like I bet you Elon Musk is just all these people complaining about Tesla coin or Bitcoin and all these things that are so low. Now you see it trending. Like everyone's like, I'm making fucking bank. I'm able to retire. I know a friend of mine that made $60,000 just because he fucking bought a bunch of coins. It's worth nothing. And then Elon tweets. I was like, that's a reliance test. He knew he could jack it up with a single fucking tweet, and he was seeing who was going to be loyal and stick out with all those coins. And then now you paid off for just waiting and just hoping or just having faith in something. I was like, it's that fucking simple when you look at the aspect of like money is not like, what is it? Is it South Korea or North Korea has now been like being able to print our money? They're
North
actually
Korea.
printing more money than we have.
North Korea.
So you
Yeah.
start looking at like the value of the dollar. The best way to crash another person's country is by making
Yeah.
their inflation go the fuck up. Like people are, I had so many people reach out and worry about China. I was like, dude, I was worried about China for a couple of years ever since I found out all that CCP shit. But you start looking at like, it's the currency is going to change. What's that currency going to be? If at one point you were thought that you could buy moments in time, buy moments like that, what's the next currency going to be where you're now able to discern value just off the basis of looks of somebody? You know, it's going to get to that point. I know that's crazy to say, but
Yeah, maybe one
society's
day.
well, society's heading to this weird point where technology is starting to really overtake a lot of parts of industry and business, and I don't see the small room for producers or even the wealth class. The higher end wealth class is eventually going to be the people that are going to be poor in a sense, and they're going to start seeing some weird shifts in time start happening. But the cost of survival is a lot to where we see people like the beginning of what we're talking about that are pushed in a situation where there's no other option. You have to work in these shitty conditions. It never used to be like that. The pandemic showed you for a glimpse of time that you don't have to do this job over and over again. It's not forever. You can do your own business. You can do whatever you want to do. And I think that's why we probably see a push for content creation so much. People are trying their best to get a source of light in the own aspect of their, whatever they're creating, which only makes it going to make it more difficult for you to be a person that gets seen or something of that sort from whatever you're creating.
Yeah, that's what I said. I try to stay away from a lot of social media anymore because I think we're getting kind of caught up in this whole system. And like I said, at the end of the day, someone's got to have their shovel in the mud and doing the hard work. If everyone is just making a living, just
Copy.
content creating and stuff like that, who's out there fixing the roads and fixing the bridges and fixing the whatever it may be, working in working in a factory doing that. So there's got to be a lot of those people. And I've kind of found out that I'm not really cut out for just like a social media based life. It's too much. I've started getting into it a little bit, and not like trying to make a living out of it, but I started getting into it. I enjoyed it because I was new to it. I was like new to kind of Facebook. I never really had Facebook until more recently, and Instagram, and even making videos like on YouTube. Like we do little dumb stuff, but we don't take it too serious. We don't try to be like the coolest channel or the voice of reason or any of that stuff because I just don't think I'm cut out for that. I like I would rather have a piece of property out in the middle of nowhere, kind of where
Same.
it's quiet, and just have a town within 15 20 minutes to drive into town and get your goods and get your stuff. But I'm getting tired of the being near the city. I'm getting tired of all this kind of stuff. I just want to go somewhere and just go back to where like it was when I was a kid, where things were simple, things were quiet.
I think a lot of people are feeling like that. I don't even know what that's like, but I prefer just being secluded. Like I was looking for places if I was going to move, and I was just like, I just rather be away from everybody. Like, yeah, the rent is going to be cheap as fuck, but I don't want to go explore these bar nights or do all these types of things that everyone likes to. People want to be around other people. I was like, I like to talk to other people, but I
Yeah,
necessarily would like to live in my own spot where I don't have to worry about people mowing their lawn or doing this type of shit when I'm trying to do stuff. I'm like, I prefer the seclusion aspect because I think, and it's a sign of a healthy person, apparently, if you're the type of person that doesn't like being around other people or doesn't want to associate or be in bars or all that type of things, it's because you're happy with yourself and you can handle your own thoughts and everyone else just kind of seems off compared to you. I'm like, well,
I can get that.
that's also what a psychopath would say too. But I look at it like I think there's just a lot of people that might selfishly be trying to get something for themselves, and rightfully so. You don't care about someone you don't know, but it's that you don't know part. There's a lot of you don't know, or you don't know, or you don't know, and it's all about taking a risk, right? Well, you're not incentivizing people to take a risk because the fear of losing what they have is too much to risk it on a belief. That risk factor. There's a lot of people that thought, well, people say you got to risk it. I'll risk it. And they fucking lose it all because you're not giving the opportunity for people to have even a chance at making something off of risking so much. And that's why people get stuck in these fear things where they stay in the same spot over and over again. Society is not open up to the idea of risking things. When you hear people that are successful now talking about how they risk it or they took a shot, that was when they took the shot, it was okay to do that. Now it's not like that anymore. Now they don't give a fuck. They'll pay you $18 an hour, but that means they can just forcibly put you into whatever scenario they want to put you in. That means if you're going to be licking stuff off the floor, if you don't like it, then you can fucking leave. I don't care about your working conditions when I'm paying
Right,
you
right.
18 an hour.
Right, and that's what they're doing in my work now. They're getting rid of us. Our company's been there like 45 years, and they want to get rid of all the guys there because they're union and they make good money, and we have good benefits, we have all that stuff, but it's a government contractor, go figure, and they want to get rid of us because they want to bring in people that make like $18 an hour. Well, what's going to happen when you have people that don't give a shit about their job because they know if they're being treated wrong or this or that, at the same time they can just find another job for $18 an hour. You can just leave and do whatever. So they're gonna have people coming and going all the time. The people I work with have been there 30, 40 years, 20 years, 15. They've all been there for a long time. So they get to know the system, they get to know every detail, every aspect of it all. And now you're going to have people coming in off the street left and right, and it's not going to perform the way it's supposed to, and they think it's going to, and it's going to fail. It's a shame because they just want to worry about saving $1 million at our facility, let's say in labor costs by the end of the year, but they're going to lose so much more. They're not going to get the job done right the first time. They're going to keep screwing it up and going over and over. And that's the sad part about sort of working. I don't like the fact that I'm part of the system too, boy, at my job. It's a government contractor, and I don't like being part of that. So I'm not against the government anyway. I don't think what they do is all bad, and I don't think what they do is all right either. But I just don't like being part of the sort of the war machine, because you hear the stories of bombings and drone bombings, and they're killing, hitting innocent people and children and this and that, and it's like, Jesus, like, this is what I'm, helping out with. Like, it makes me not want to do it. It makes me want to find something else. I don't want to be part of that. But it's, where do I go? What do I do at this point? I'm 40 years, almost 40. What am I gonna do?
I heard from a buddy of mine, Kelly, who was telling me that it's like the younger generations don't put effort into their work anymore, don't give a shit. And it's like, yeah, that's that perspective. But then their perspective is, why would they put work into a company that doesn't give a shit about them? There's that loyalty
Right.
aspect that's missing. I mean, there's people that are waiting. They won't say anything because they want to keep their pension. They're afraid to lose their job because they need to keep their pension. I worked with someone at a hotel who'd been there 30 something years, about to retire in a year. And when they saw something like my ex manager that was literally trying to just get rid of me and trying to find every scenario to where she possibly could, making me try and slip up, and it wasn't happening, to the point where making it so uncomfortable I didn't want to come into work. She didn't say
Mhm.
anything, and I understood it because she wanted to keep her job. She was 1 year away from retiring. There's no way she's going to throw that down the drain for someone that I've only been working there for 2 years. So it
Right.
doesn't. That's what I don't like, is the character or the relationships or whatever idea that was supposed to be built on hardworking or faith in a community. It's not there anymore. I mean, if you look at a concept of, like, for me, I never want to be put in a position when someone tells me I can't because of my schooling, I can't because of my job, I can't do your show because of my job. I'm like, I never want to be put in that scenario. And I don't know any job that, if you would have said, well, you can be a famous podcaster, but you can't say this. No thanks. I don't want to fucking do it then. That doesn't make any sense to me, because limiting my speech is limiting on who I could be or who I want to be. You get me for me. If you don't like that, then I'm sorry, we can't work together.
Yeah, same here. I don't say a lot of stuff that I feel like on social media, because it just goes in one ear out the other. It just kind of point. I don't get involved in all the BS and all the arguments. I don't bicker with people online. I don't do none of that stuff.
I'll
When
do it all.
people try to troll, I kill them with kindness, and they always turn around and say, and you know they're like, I apologize, man. Yeah, I was just messing around. I didn't mean that. This was actually da 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 da. I do the opposite. I hit them. They expect to. They want to banter back and forth and argue about it, and then I don't, and then they're like, oh, well, this guy's pretty cool. This is all right. He's not so bad. Like some of our videos, like I'm hammered, I'm drunk, I'm annoying, and some of them I'm talking over people, I'm saying dumb shit, and people call me out on it, and I'm like, no, you're totally right. That wasn't a good look on me, and I get it, but we have a couple other ones. Check this one, check that one. And next thing you know, they're like, oh, that's cool, man. You're right. I get it. People don't understand, but I think the sense of community you were saying is still around. I think there's still good people. Most people are still pretty good. I think you can't knock the whole young generation for not giving a shit about a lot of stuff right now, because I didn't give a shit about a whole lot of stuff when I was young. Once they get older, they'll give a shit. And then it'll be the new young generation that everyone's saying, this new young generation don't give a shit about nothing. It's just been that way forever. It's been that way throughout history, where it's always oh, these young kids' music sucks. Oh, these kids don't want to work these days. And these kids, yeah, that's how kids are. They live with their parents. They live whatever. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to support themselves. They don't have to. I was the same way when yes, I paid some rent when I lived at my parents' house once I was 18. I moved out, when I was 19 or whatever. It didn't matter. But the point is, like, if I live rent free and mom and dad paid for everything and all, why would I give a shit? Why would I care about going out and grinding and doing all that kind of stuff? Because you just feel like you're going to be comfortable forever. But once you get to a certain point, then you realize, you say you finally move out and you got all these bills and all this other stuff, and then you're like, I got to start putting my nose to the grindstone and making it happen, because after that nobody's giving you anything. You got to earn it. That's when you start to care. But when people give you everything, government, everything else, why would you care that much? If I got paid by the government to stay home a couple $1,000s a week or whatever it is and never go to work, well, I wouldn't care either. But they ain't doing that. They ain't, and I wouldn't want them to give me that. I'm just saying, if they did, why would I worry about getting up every day at 5 o'clock and going to work? Wouldn't
It's not
matter.
it's not about incentivizing laziness, but it's also about, you can't be mad if these people are trying to do something, they take their shot and they don't get it. The world's not really set up for shots to be taken anymore. It's still the idea that you can take your shots and do whatever you can, but there's a lot of people that have tried and it's not worked out. And they keep trying and it's still not working out. It's because the damn system is now trying to get you into a point where they just want you making things for them. They don't really care about you doing your own personal adventures. The entrepreneur game was big 5 years ago. The pandemic,
Yeah.
I think, ruined it all. The pandemic made it so everybody's a fucking entrepreneur, to where now at this point they're like, no, we need to get people back in line again. And that's kind of a weird thing that you start to see, is that you used to see advertisements for start your own business, do this, go to this workshop or do this and learn the methods. Now
Yeah.
it's like advertisements for industries, join this company, join this, do this. There's these people on strike. I mean, I get it. I mean, people give Elon Musk shit, but the best thing business strategy Elon Musk did was that every single person that works for Tesla has a bit of stock in the company. Now you want that company to succeed. You've incentivized them not by giving them bonuses, by giving them something that if they do good work, they make more money in the company.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, our company doesn't do any of that stuff, 'cause so my incentive only is to keep earning a paycheck and keep my job. I don't have any incentive to like go out
It
and
doesn't
make.
incentivize great work. It just incentivizes you to want to keep your job by doing probably the bare minimum in some aspects. I'm not saying you, but that's what the
Yeah,
idea
not me,
is.
but definitely some people. Yeah, definitely some people, and that's a problem when you have multi-billion-dollar government spending, and people aren't worried about doing the best they can. Everyone's just kind of soaking up the system and
I'm
taking what they
jealous
can
of you
get.
for that, dude. I wish I could fucking stick it out. I worked at Walmart 4 fucking months back like 4 or 5 years ago, dude. And my buddy has been there for about 8 years now. And I'm like, I wish I could be like you, man, but I just can't stand the aspect I'm nothing to this fucking company. I need to feel like I'm actually a person in some aspects of my life. And I
Yeah,
don't know how people can sit there and swallow that down every single day. I could never stand that.
it's miserable, but you got to remember at the end of the day when you spend time with your family and you get to do good stuff and do things outside of work and live decent. That's what it's about for me. It's not. It may be if I somehow stick around long enough, if they keep us, they want to get rid of everyone who's not vaccinated by December 8th, and that's going to be a big issue because I haven't been vaccinated yet, and I'm not against anything. I'm all for it. I think it's a decent thing. If you feel like you want or need to get it, go ahead. I got no problem with it. I personally feel healthy as hell, and there's a lot of arguments. I don't want to turn it into this
Yeah,
whole
don't do that.
thing, but they're forcing us to do it by December 8th, or we're out. I got like a month and a week left at my job, and I'm probably gonna have to move on if unless because they're not the way we work. I'm a subcontractor for them, so we've been there like 45 years. So if they incentivize it and they said, hey, look, you'll be in here for foreseeable future, unless you do something stupid, get yourself fired. Like if you have a job here for the rest of your time that you want to be here, if you take the shot, then I would consider it because I have to do what I have to do to support my family and take care of them. And sometimes it means putting yourself at a little bit of risk, whatever it may be. But from what I've seen and everything I've done, I just don't feel I need it right now. And nobody who's nobody really wants to hear that. You know, I wouldn't mind if they tested me every day when I came into work. If they had, because they have simple machines that they can swab, put it right in a thing. Within a few minutes, you got a result. I don't care if you test me every day or test my immunity, whatever you got to do. That's fine. I respect that. But just it feels bad to be forced to do anything, and
I'm I'm not pro anarchy, but I'm not pro people forcing you into a position you necessarily don't feel comfortable taking. Like anybody that says like I feel forced to do my job, I get upset about. Anybody that says I feel forced because they're making me do this and I might have to leave, it's kind of an aspect of like I don't think in any position in life you should feel like you should be forced to do anything. Like obviously there's basic hygiene stuff, but you're not forced to do that. You can choose to brush your teeth. You can choose to take a shower. Society will treat you on whatever decision you make in that aspect. But forcing you and saying there's no other option, you're going to do this, I'm not a fan of. And I've had the biggest problem since I was little with authority, where that's
Mhm.
why I don't join the military. I can't be told to do something. You got to treat me like an equal. With this idea of equality out there, you start to look and see that there's not necessarily a lot of that going on. And I don't think it's a huge racial thing. I think it's an aspect of like there's just people that feel like you're nothing. And that goes down to any race. I think that just goes down to how much money you make. The sad part is, what are we going to consider value soon? Because money is not going to be value anymore. Value is going to be the content of whatever you got out there. I mean, I bet you I could put 1,000 podcast episodes on my resume and I could probably get a house better than any social credit. Only because what's social credit? The idea that you're able to pay back your debts so you're a reliable person. What about the consistency of someone's character being able to produce a show every single day and not miss one? That's a content of a character that I would see value in. That's a content as a business person I would see value in. I wish on a resume, people will put down things that they're accomplished of and their achievements of, because then I start to look at like, okay, so you think that eating three hot dogs in a matter of 5 seconds is an accomplishment? Why do you consider that? Well, man, I had to train to do that. I had to do this. And you start to see the work that gets put into things that people do
Yeah,
that they
that's true.
consider an accomplishment. That should be something that should be on a resume, not the fact that you went to a fucking school and got an education in a certain degree. Because I guarantee you, if I pull you outside of that degree that you got an education in, how much intelligence do you really fucking have?
Not a whole lot. Well, maybe some people, but a lot of them don't. Like I grew up doing. I worked for my father since I was a little kid. He had his own business. He passed away almost 3 years ago. So I worked for him like most of my life. I learned how to do a little bit of everything from roofing down to concrete, down sheetrock and painting and trim work and you name it. We used to do everything, commercial stuff, big buildings, little buildings, houses, whatever you name it. He was a contractor. Whatever you wanted to pay him to do, he would make me do it. Well, I liked him, but so I got to learn a little bit about everything, and that was great. But now it's like unfortunately, I wasn't able to kind of master one specific thing because I did a little bit of everything my whole life. So now at my age, if I want to find another job to make decent pay, you got to be like a manager level or overlooking a
Yeah.
project or something. And it's hard to do for me because do I know how to do a little bit of everything? Yeah, I do. But I can't master one thing. So I'm still, if I got in a new place, I'm still at like basically grunt work level, and I don't,
I
and
don't think
I
you're
wouldn't
grunt
mind.
work. If I
I don't,
picture, I've been watching a lot of mafia movies. If I picture a mafia, you'd be that enforcer type where you'd be like the number one person up to the chief that would be like just giving out orders. I'm that same way. I'm not a person that can give out orders. I'm a person that can do what I can do the objective or the goal that the task that you put in front of me. But I'm not the person that can manage a giant corporation. I'm not the person that can do that. I think you're the same way. You're just effective at being able to carry out certain things.
yeah. I don't really want the responsibility either of managing a whole bunch of stuff because people, they only see the money part of it. Well, to have that job, you make 200 grand a year. And I'm like, yeah, but you're always on the chopping block when you're on that level. You're always on the chopping block. One mistake, one thing happens, you're going to be the patsy, you're going to be the fall guy. They're going to blame it on you and they're going to get rid of you. And then now you've built up a life where you're expecting to earn 200 grand a year for the rest of your life. And you get all this stuff built up around you, houses and cars, and whatever it may be. And you lose your job. And then what happens? You lose it all. So if you stay kind of simple, don't live outside your means. If something happens and you have to start over, hopefully it won't be the end of the world. Hopefully you won't lose everything. And it's kind of where I'm at. Like, I have a decent little life going on, but I could make it if I start over, I can make it somewhere else. But I kind of have to go back into starting at the bottom of another company. And I don't want to have to really do that, but I'm probably gonna have to be forced to do it.
How long have you worked for this company?
4 years.
Okay. That's I don't know. I see. I still consider that strange that you would have to be forced in an option like that.
Well, it's the government mandate that all government employees have to have the injection by the eighth, or they're gone. The vaccine, I should call it, whatever. So, and I understand, they do some things, and I feel like medicine isn't a one size fits all deal. I
Yeah.
don't think you should. I
Well, you
don't think
can
you should.
mix match them now. You heard about that? They can mix match.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
I
don't
had
think you
so
should.
many people message me like, "Dude, what the fuck?" And I was like, "I've been saying this for a long time." You start to look like, "Hey, at least we're all questioning now."
Yeah, but yeah, we're questioning, but you're still forced to do it, or you're kind of blacklisted, and you're out of it. So like I said, if there was an incentive, if they said this is what'll happen, we don't want to get rid of you guys, but do
That
this, do that, and
about to say
you
that
know,
that Illuminati thing ain't seeming so crazy now, is it? Huh. Huh.
yeah, I mean the Great Reset, all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying I believe in all the different stuff that I see in social media or YouTube and all the different conspiracy type of stuff and all. I don't believe it all. Obviously, it's too much to believe all, but I think there's something to a lot of it. It may not all be true, but there's something to it. And there, man, a one world government, I think it's a bad idea. I think it's a bad idea. I think we should leave people alone. We should stop trying to conquer other smaller countries and kind of let these people be. But seems like they kind of want to have their foot, in the door of
It's
every
not just
business,
us.
every
It's
government.
every country's government's doing the same shit.
Yeah, but we have a little more power than like a lot of small countries that can't do a whole lot about it.
Yeah, but I mean that's just how fast a society builds. China says they want to stop doing trading with us, then we're all kind of fucked. So
Yeah, but we could go back and talk about China. They actually kind of back North Korea. If it wasn't for China, North Korea would have failed a long time ago. You
that's why
talked
they're all
about
trying
them.
to kill South Korea and also invade Taiwan right now.
Yeah, you talked about them. Printing money, printing our money, and it's is it China that's helping them print our money and
Probably.
China helping North Korea kind of fail the U.S. so China can become the number one superpower. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not that simple. Maybe it's just the way it is,
Why
and
did
it's
they
not
finally
peaceful.
find out that they fucked the NIH funded gain of function research recently? only because the second team that investigated happened to be from like 12 other countries. The first team that came back with the report saying inconclusive was all United States. The second team, because every other country was like, hang on a fucking second. We were hoping you were going to come back with actual evidence. So do we have to appoint someone? Well, if we all gather in together, they can't just cut off us. They can't cut off everybody. So they're just going to say it's our fault. Sorry. And we can move on past it. That's what fucking happened, was that once we started coming back with an inconclusive report, you saw how China became hostile towards the US. And then
Yeah.
everybody was like, hold on, let's all investigate. Then everybody investigate. China can't be mad at everybody. So now there's like, sorry, guys. So the best thing we can do is like how sanctions are there to be able to stop these types of situations from happening when it comes to 13 tons of human hair being shipped over here. The fucking thing that you can do to stop that shit is just by saying we're not going to trade with you. Then nobody trades with them. Next thing you know, they have to drop their fucking prices. It's very strange when you see gas go up. Everywhere gas goes up, not just one place. It's fucking everywhere. You start to realize if you refuse, it starts to drop back down because now they have a gas that they're not selling. So that means if the price is too high, they have to lower it. And next thing you know, everyone starts buying it again. It's harder to do with gas because it's harder to get everybody to agree on that aspect of things.
Yeah,
But it's
because
the
you got to go to
same.
work.
It's the same thing when minimum wage is like $12 an hour. It's like, we want more. Okay. Well, then you have to get a bunch of people saying we want more. And then that just keeps fucking us in the ass, though, because then they'll keep raising the price and it's hard to drop it back down because of inflation. There's grand aspects when people can get together and really make a stand on things. I think it was weird when In and Out said we're not fucking doing what the government said mandate wise. That's bullshit. And that's
Right.
like a big step up where if you see, we're seeing more and more people refuse it now. Other countries are doing it like crazy, but this idea that like I have to send you this interview, but it's Kerry Mullis, the guy who invented the PCR test. In 1993 he did an interview in his house where a guy was just talking to him about AIDS because at this time AIDS was big. Fauci was big on the AIDS movement too, but he says something about Fauci where it's like Fauci's an idiot. He doesn't deserve having a say in anything. He's a mouth man. He just says what people tell him. And you start to realize like this is coming from a scientist, but everything he says is so fucking eerie to what we're dealing with right now. All the people that he accused in 1993 are the people that are suffering charges now. So you start realizing it's like when do we start questioning things? Like I really want that to be like, instead of having an option of you have to do this, when can we just question, and when can we just bring in like, I don't know if I necessarily have to do what you're telling me, not like we're forcing or anarchy. I don't want anarchy. I just want the idea of thinking something through instead of running with a headline or seeing an article and then retweeting it without reading into it or looking into anything. How about you just fucking look into something, you actually understand something. So many people, I learned this with my court case, the lawyers speak. There's so much of it that either makes you feel guilty, or there's so much of it where like the unemployment thing for Maryland, there's a lot of people that were suffering overpayment balances. I was one of those people, and they were like, your refusal of work in April. I was like, refusal of work in April. And I asked my judge, I was like, can I ask why I'm here and why we're doing this on the phone and not like in a Zoom call or not in person? And she goes, well, we're doing it over the phone. It's easier. I have a lot of these today. And I was like, okay, well, how are you going to be able to see my face and see that I'm not being a lying piece of shit? I can disguise my voice to lie if I needed to. And she was like, we're going to get to the case. They didn't show up. So we're just going to continue with it with the evidence that we have. I said, okay. She goes, so the claim here is that you refused to file work in April of 2020. And I was like, can you repeat that again? She said, the refusal here is you refused to file work in April 2020. I said, one more time. She goes, refusal of filing work, Mr. Robertson, in April of 2020. I go, okay, so April 2020. How is that possible to refuse to find work when we were shut down from March until the ending of June almost? So that means all businesses were closed unless you were an essential worker. So how could I not look for work if there was no work available? You start to see where it adds up. She goes, okay, that aside, what is your evidence that you didn't? And I'm like, why are you going to throw that out? That doesn't make any sense. That's my main proof that I'm not guilty. And then we started talking more and more. And, there's an echo and I'm fucking talking and she cuts me off. And then my voice is still going. I'm not talking anymore. And she's like, stop, you're being insubordinate. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I'm not talking. There's an echo. And then, luckily I won. I didn't get after they cleared the balance and everything. They realized it was a mess up, but you start understanding is that like, do they expect me just like I had so many people go, you're probably going to have to pay that back. I'm like, no, I'm going to take it to fucking court. There's not just an option of they tell you that you owe money and they pay it back. There's none of that unless you know you're not wrong, which I knew I wasn't wrong. I took that shit to court. There's always another option. There's never just one thing. You just have to weigh your options out. You have to look at it from a full grand view scale of things. And they weren't looking at it from a full grand skew. I mean, I could say that conspiratorial wise is that they gave out a bunch of money. They didn't want to do that. And they're trying to get a bunch of it back. That's why there's over 50,000 people in Maryland alone that are suffering overpayment balances. I mean, mine luckily was, I mean, compared to everyone else's was lower, but you start realizing is that the answer I was getting from family members and friends that were saying, you're probably going to have to pay that back. I'm like, I don't fucking think so. Like, there's never just that. How many people get a receipt for a bill and they say, I'm going to pay it because you have to? Do you? Or do you really look into that and be like, wait, it's like if I told you right now, the guy who sent the invoices to Amazon and all those places saying for 1 point something million that he did work for them and he had no receipts for, but they were like, fuck it. And they paid it off. Now, I'm
Wow.
not mad at the guy for doing that because he found a way to get money from these people. But you start to realize it's like if I said, here's $50 for what you owe me, what do I owe you? Remember that time like a year ago where you said you give me $50? I don't remember that at all. You never question though. Instead, people just pay that shit. It's like, why are you paying something you necessarily don't fucking owe? It's just a way of them seeing if you're actually going to follow through with a lot of this stuff. Stick to your fucking guns on some shit. Like that's not
Yeah.
difficult. I'm not saying that means fight your fucking government or punch everybody in the face. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying understand that the situation that you're being put in, the way that they made me feel all the way up 3 weeks into this court thing, where they're like, 3 weeks from now, you're going to be doing this. They made me feel like thinking about it, all that pain, all that it was constantly hounding in my head of like, oh my God, there's this worry. They'll do that to you because they can. We shouldn't let them have the power to be able to do that to you. And that's with all aspects of business. It's a profitable thing. It's a way to be effective in the things that you do. And society is never going to advance space travel or go into whatever we want to talk about another planet when we can't get that out of our evolutionary chain. We have this aspect of wanting to be above somebody. The idea of slavery, for instance, like trafficking. I would be trafficked if I went to Jamaica. It would fucking happen because I don't know the culture. I'm new. I'm a person they can take advantage of. Humankind in general has always been about taking advantage of people. It doesn't matter if I'm white, doesn't matter if whatever. It's just taking advantage of someone who's different from you. And that has been throughout society's all of history. This idea that it's just completely this side needs to pay and this side needs to do whatever, sure, from some aspects, sure, but you start looking at it like it's a more of a human entity aspect that no wonder I don't think aliens are ever going to want to contact us because we don't deserve it. The government doesn't deserve to give us any information. Aliens don't deserve to ever come in contact with us because we're all kind of like this selfish. I need to talk to this famous person so he can retweet it. And next thing you know, my episode gets popular because I had him on. I have to always reach out to these famous people. No, just be a fucking person. Talk to the people you want to talk to. Be fucking curious and treat people as equal. It's not that fucking hard.
I would love it in a sense that it sucks because one side of the coin is I would love it if someone popular did like share one of your episodes or something and help really put your channel out there. But at the same time, it sucks that you need something like that to happen. It's like that's one thing. When you go on for like 10 minutes, there's so many things that I'm
I
trying to
get
remember.
angry.
There's so many things I want to say, so many things that I like as you're going. I'm like, oh, I gotta about this, about that. Like you're saying, like society, how we're always trying to take advantage of other humans, one society against another, one even if it's just two people bumping each other in the woods, and before there was big civilizations. If I was walking through the woods and I had a bow and arrow, and you were walking through the woods and you had a fucking sword before societies were even a thing, let's say, you were going to be like, what can I get out of this fucking guy? can
Well, if
can
I
I
was
take his
famous and I just
can I
said what
take
I
his bow
just
and
said,
arrow?
well, if I was famous and I just said what I just said, I would be getting retweets and a bunch of people saying, "Yes, this is why you're awesome." But then I'm 23 saying this with no fame. People go, "Who's this fucking guy trying to be a philosopher, some type of Aristotle?" It does. The value is now devalued because of the age, because of this. The discernment of how we view value doesn't come from the words initially that we say. It comes from the mouth that it was spoken. That's the fucking weird part I don't fucking like.
Yeah, I don't like it either. All these influencers and all, they just say, yeah, they're I'm sorry, their Instagram posts 90% of the time are like the dumbest things ever. They'll have like a new product, and they just put like two words on it. They're like, feeling good. And you're like, and you pose with it all funny, and all of a sudden it's like that's the most popular whatever food that they have in their hand, and sales take off and all this stuff. And it's like, if I listen to you talk about a new product that you're trying and you're really enjoying, and different things about it, and you're telling me about it, then I might go, that sounds pretty good. Actually, I'd like to give it a try. But you're not influencing me with a picture of a girl with her leg kicked up and she's got like a product in her hand and she's out on a sunny beach or something. But people do. People fall for it. People just, whatever Kardashian says or buys, that's what they want. And I get it. I get it in a sense. I'm not knocking it completely. I'm just saying that's not for me. I don't get too involved in what everybody thinks about, or what celebrities think about something, because we've seen the level of bullshit coming from celebrities and coming from elite whatever. And I'm not saying they're all bad people at all. If you yeah, actually, I watched an interview with Kim Kardashian. She's a very, very intelligent
Yeah,
woman.
I
She
don't
is.
make fun of her. She does. She works with the Innocent Project to help get wrongfully convicted people out of prison.
Yeah, she does a lot of, and she's like, her father was a lawyer. I think her father was a lawyer. She like on the OJ trial or something. She's a very smart girl. I think she passed the bar. I think she's actually like an attorney now. I don't know if she practices, but she always wanted to be a lawyer. And
It's more believable when you can look at them before cosmetic surgery. That whole family was fucking fugly, and they all look normal as shit. But now that you can't, now you look, everyone remembers the image of them now, but not how what they used to look like back in the day.
yeah, see, I'm almost 40. I don't. If I saw them in person back in the day, I probably wouldn't think they were
We're
ugly at
gonna
all.
test it. Hang on a second. I'm gonna fucking minimize my screen. I'm gonna pull up a
Oh,
picture
you're
of the
the man. You can put something.
Kardashian. I've done this once and it went horribly.
It'll cut the stream off.
I was playing a video and then like I was like, did you see that? And I could hear it, but the guy couldn't hear it. And I'm like, fuck. And then I'm like trying to do this thing and I have to realize I might have to edit that out of the recording. My
Yeah,
internet
but
might
like
not
I'm
even
saying,
open.
if I saw the Kardashians in person, maybe not from a photo, because sometimes photos don't do justice. But like if you were around her 20 years ago, you'd probably still be like, okay, the picture didn't do justice, but yeah, she's actually a pretty good looking girl. She looks pretty, pretty healthy, pretty good looking. And but photos, they may not always, really, really show it all.
Card. How do you spell Kardashian?
Fucking photo. Kard Ash IA or IEN. I
I
don't.
got it.
I don't.
I got it. I got it.
You're a genius.
Well, autocorrect really fucking helps.
Yeah, yeah. That's how I spell most shit nowadays. Because I don't really write a lot like back in school and all that kind of stuff. So you kind of forget how to spell certain things that you haven't written in 10 years.
I
It
wish
seems
it
so simple.
I wish it would it's not gonna full size the picture. That's stupid.
I'll look it up after the show.
No, we gotta play it on the show.
All right, put it on the show. But like I said, when I was younger, I was more critical of the way females look. When I was younger, I'd be like, "Oh, her her one eyebrow is a little bit thicker than the other," or "Oh, her
Are you
her
seeing what
this,
I'm
her
seeing
that."
right now?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Look at that.
No, I see you doubled on the screen. Oh, there we go.
There's
Okay.
Chloe.
Well, she was a
There's
kid.
there's Rob. There's
Okay.
Kim.
Kim was pretty.
They look normal. Like normal people. Like
Yeah, but I
not
bet
blood-sucking leeches of the
I bet it.
apocalypse. No, I'm kidding.
I bet if you would have put Kim in her, I don't know. How old is she in that
It's
photo?
Bruce.
I don't want to say anything. Hey, you can't say that name no more.
Thank God that no, Bruce is a person. Bruce is no longer existing. He killed somebody, and then now he's not Bruce anymore. Now it's Caitlyn Jenner. She's amazing. She's running for
And,
governor. You should vote for her.
and people may not know about all that when she when I guess he at the time, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings because I'm really not about that. When I guess when he was Bruce and he hit the person with his car, like almost overnight, he turned into Caitlyn and he was celebrated.
Yeah, no,
If he
he,
didn't do that when he did, he would have been in trouble.
and then
And
there's this devil.
he became he became woman of the year after running somebody over with his car.
Athlete of the year as well too.
Oh, okay. And like I said, I'm not knocking that. I'm all about people. Yeah, I don't care what you want to do with
Yeah,
with
I
your
don't
life
care
and your
if you
body.
wanna fucking I don't care if you wanna fuck sheep. I really don't. I don't care.
Well,
It
that's
doesn't
animal
bother
abuse.
me.
That's animal abuse. I'm not about that.
What happens if
But
the sheep likes it?
you can't really ask him. That's the tricky part.
How
They
many
can't be like,
baz? Ba twice for yes.
he can't be like, "Come here, daddy."
Well, if they clone sheep properly, they can do that.
But like I said, if you wanted to implant a unicorn horn on your forehead tomorrow and have wings implanted on you, I'd be like, all right, Robbie's turning into a real life fairy. I guess that's fine. He's trying to fly. He's got a unicorn thing. I don't know. Whatever, do your
You're gonna
thing.
get my show
You're not hurt.
canceled.
You're not hurting me, and you're not hurting anybody else. No kids, no animals. I don't care what you do, but just don't force it on me and my children and in our lives, because I don't care what anybody does at the end of the day. I don't care what your preference is on anything, food, love, people, whatever. I don't care.
I
But
got made
just,
fun of the other day.
I get made fun of every day.
I got made fun of. They called me a straight male.
What's wrong with that?
I swear to you, it was like an insult. They were like, "Look at that straight male." I was like, "What?" They were
Well,
clearly not like of both of those. They clearly were fluent as possibly as they could be, but it was like that was an insult. Was like to be a straight
well,
male. I was like,
that's confusing.
"What?"
Because if you're all about people's options and choices of being who they want to be and who they want to identify as, and then why would you bash somebody who chooses to be a straight male when if
Because
it
it doesn't. It's the opposite now. They didn't care about that. They just cared about their specific group. It's that whole entire thing. If you really think people are against child slavery, then go to another fucking country where it's actually fucking happening. Antifa is so anti all this, or PETA is so anti this. People had to tweet at PETA, "Why aren't you saying shit about the Beagles?" And then even then, they finally
yeah.
made a tweet about it. You start to see is that
Well,
they don't they attack certain things, but there's other things where that like your primary focus is if you're against fucking child slave camps and all this type of shit, you should be going to the Nestle company that's doing that in other fucking countries.
oh man, don't get started on the Nestle company. I watched a video that was it said possibly the most evil corporation in history, and
Yeah.
it was the Nestle symbol, and I was like, what? Nestle Crunch bars are the shit. I love them.
I talked about this like around like episode 400, or then I think around later like 700 or something with a chocolate reviewer. The Nestle company gets off on lawsuits. They just recently, I think in like a couple months ago, um early June, I think, they paid the Supreme Court $2.3 million to just pass a case that was them talking about their conditions for slave encampments in like fucking like some type of Guatemala country or something like that, where they were
What?
harvesting cocoa.
Hey, hey, what's $2.3 million for Nestle? They sh-
Nothing.
they sneeze that shit.
Yeah,
They'll flush it down a drain. It won't matter a
that's what
bit.
I'm saying is like people like the Supreme Court just got paid off. Like, what the fuck are we talking about here? Like, you start realizing like these corporations, you $2.3 million might be a lot for you and me. I'm pretty sure me and you could not even imagine what $1 billion would look like in a room. But that's their fucking easy spending money that they take on a rainy day.
Yeah, a billion for a corporation like Nestle, still they don't want to lose that billion because it's a decent amount of money, but it's still nothing. If Nestle had to pay $1 billion lawsuit tomorrow, they're going to continue to stay in business. They're going to continue to do what they got to do. All they're going to do is squeeze their employees a little bit over the next year or two to get their money back or something. That's all they'll do. You're not
It's a
really stopping the machine, you know?
it's a dirty world.
It is, and I get it. It's natural. Unfortunately, like I was saying earlier, it's the way it's got to be. There's always got to be people at the bottom to build up everything for the people at the top. You're never gonna have everyone who's rich and elite and nobody on the bottom doing the grunt work. It's not gonna happen.
But you
So I
know
kind of
who
accepted my place in reality, and I'm not worried about getting rich.
I
I'm not
like you.
worried about, huh?
I like you.
Well, I would like it if someone just said, "Hey, I'm a billionaire, and whatever for whatever reason, here's a couple $1 million." So I bump into somebody, I'm talking to them. They were just like, "Here's a couple $1 million." Sure, I'll take it. But I'm not trying to work my way up to some evil corporate ladder to be rich one day and have to step on everybody to get there, because I can't sleep with that at night. I can't sleep with that. I like to help people. I like everyone to kind of come with me, and but you can't really do it. It's like well, you can, depending on what you do, but like in a corporate setting, you can't really do that. You can't bring everyone up with you up to manager level. Hey, let's all be managers together. We'll all make good money. Well, then who's running the warehouse?
A
You know?
rising tide raises all ships.
Yeah, but like I said, there can't be 20 managers, all in the same office. There's gonna be one, and everybody else is gonna have to do it. They're told, and I'm okay with that. I don't mind. I don't mind if you're paying me well. I'll do what I'm told, but just don't force things on me that aren't really ethical.
How about this? Don't reduce my standards of living to something not worth living for.
Yeah, that's it. I
That's a good
mean,
quote. We're ending on that. That's a fucking ace quote. That's a motivational poster and a half.
write it down. Take a picture.
It's fucking recorded. As long as the internet's up, it'll be up.
It says it's recording, so I hope it is.
Justen, I appreciate you for finally doing my show again. Where can people find Harmon Heat? His YouTube channel, his Facebook, his Instagram, any type of profiles you have out there where people can buy your merch and see your awesome hot sauce reviews. I need my Harmon Heat shirt.
Yeah, I didn't get a bunch of them made yet. I still just have like the original from the videos. Like, it's right here somewhere. It's got like hot sauce stains on it and shit.
I'm good. I don't want that.
Hey,
I know I need to get a black shirt. I'm not wearing white anymore. That's a terrible fucking idea. That gets dirty quick.
That's all I wear is white tees all summer long. 6 months of the year, I wear fucking white tees every day.
The fact that you don't have more stains on it is crazy.
You talk about like the merch or this or that. Like, we didn't talk about any of this stuff, which I don't give a shit. I just like talking to you. But like, yeah, we do hot sauce stuff in videos and all that kind of stuff. And I keep my Instagram light. I just make fun of everything. I show the trashy side of me and whatever, because I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? It's not paying my bills at the end of the day. YouTube doesn't pay me. That's not how I earn a living. But I grow peppers. I make hot sauces. I just do it like as a hobby in a sense, but I take it a little more serious than just a hobby, making a few bottles at a time. I try to do it all right. And you can't really find my merch anywhere because I don't try to push any merch on people. To be honest with you, I don't want people to spend their hard-earned money. Unfortunately, I don't want you to spend your hard-earned money to buy a hat with my logo or something like that. I'm nobody. I don't need, if you like it, watch a video. If you don't like it, I totally understand, because there's some videos we make that I don't like either, But I can tell you this, the hot sauce is really damn good, but shipping is a fucking pain in the ass. So I try to avoid even putting it on social media, because I don't want people to say, "Oh, I want to buy. I'll Venmo you money. I'll do this," because then I gotta package all the shit up, take time from my day, from work and everything, go to the post office, mail the shit out. Like, I sell it local, because I think it's easier and cheaper. When you gotta order it, then you gotta pay twice the price because of shipping. And I'm like, nobody wants to spend $15 on one bottle because of shipping, But I keep it simple. I keep it local. You're not really gonna find merch. You can follow me on Instagram, Harmon_Heat. Someone stole Harmon Heat and had like one stupid post like 5 years ago, so I can't have Harmon Heat. So it's Harmon_Heat. But you can find us on YouTube if you want to watch a video. Go have a laugh at our expense, because that's what it's about. We're not trying to be cool. We're just having fun.
I'll link it all in the description. Justen, it was great talking to you again.
Can't wait to have some crabs with you again, man.
That was a good day. Good day. Beer and crabs.
We've had a couple good days. Beers and crabs.
You gotta come to Ocean City more often. And I get shit for eating sushi with a fork on one of your videos.
You did eat it with a fork.
It's normal shit.
Who eats sushi with a fork, Rob?
I'm not a peasant. No, I'm just kidding.